Hey, I'm Joey Sturgis, and today we're going to talk about advanced vocal production. So first let's start with what is vocal production? Well, there's three things, really four things that I feel that a vocal production is. The production itself is usually the choice of, what kind of vocals are you recording and when are you deciding to do them and how are they interacting with the music. You've got also the actual recording aspect of vocals. How are you doing the recording? What kind of mic are you using? And we're not really going to talk about microphones or preamps today, but we're going to talk about how you make the right choices for what you're doing with your vocal production. And then you've got editing. Editing is kind of changing the performance or modifying the performance to be closer to either your goal, the artist's goal, or something to do with making it, making the song better or making the performance better. And then finally, vocal mixing, which is the process of blending all of your vocal production decisions together and also making your vocalist sound awesome. So let's start with producing and recording. Now, what is producing and recording? Basically, it's deciding what to do, then doing it. Now, if you look at this song I have open here, this is a song by Glamour of the Kill, and they pretty much are a clean singing only type of band. They do have a couple of spots throughout the album where they do some screaming, but we decided, that it was going to be a pretty melodic album and there was going to be a lot of harmony. So you can actually see that that choice that we made stands pretty true in the final production of the song or any of the songs. You can see, like, for example, in this chorus, we have a main vocal, we have some doubles, and we have some harmonies. And we have more than just one harmony, we have multiple harmonies. So we're creating nice, big, thick chords and melodies with the vocals. We've also decided when we tackled the album, we decided that it was going to be a very vocal-rich album. There was going to be a lot of vocal layering. So in our doubles, we actually doubled it twice. So we have a main take and two doubles, as opposed to just doing one double. And the verses actually have doubles as opposed to just having one main take, which might be the standard thing that you would do in a typical band. Now, when you're working with a vocal production, you do need to have quite a bit of preparation and a lot of planning, but you also want to have the ability to improv and do kind of special things on the spot. So you might not have planned to do gang vocals, but if that's what the part calls for, then you might want to step in and figure out how can we fit gang vocals into this vocal production. So let's talk about how to actually do a vocal production in a controlled environment. And that kind of starts with organization. Now, with organization, the more organized you are, the better you're going to be able to execute your vocal production, and the easier it'll be to do various things that the artist might ask you to do during the process. And these things are meant to just kind of help you and guide you to a better workflow, and they certainly don't need to be followed exactly to the T, but the more that you organize yourself and the closer you stay to these guidelines, you'll find the better your sessions go and the more creativity you can involve in your songs. So organization kind of starts with naming. And I have kind of my own little way of naming tracks, and I've found that it works pretty well in pretty much any kind of music and any kind of song. So in this song in particular, you can see the verse. You can see that this is actually a vocal for the verse because it starts with V-E-R. And then if we go to the next track, we can see that it says V-E-R-D-U-B, which is verse dub. And the dub is intending to describe that this is a double. And then we also have the V-E-R-H-R-M. The HRM stands for harmony, so we know that this is the verse harmony. So no matter where you are in the session, like if you're in the mixer or if you're in the project window, you know that you're looking at either that you're looking at the verse, you know that this is a harmony, and I have all of my vocal tracks starting with a V, which helps me to know that I'm looking at vocal tracks and not music tracks. Let's also talk about color. That's the next thing. You can see that I have each section of the song a specific color. For example, this chorus is blue and the verse is purple. That kind of just gives me a great way of knowing where I'm at. When I'm looking at the mixer or looking at the project, I know that purple's verse. So if I see these purple tracks, I know these are the verse vocal tracks, and so on. And you might be wondering, well, how come you have the chorus in blue, but later on in the song it becomes yellow? Well, we have a color coding system that I've developed to help me keep track of where copies are pasted. So I know that this is the chorus because it's in blue and it starts around the 1 minute mark. And then I can see that these same waveforms and these same shapes actually carry over to later in the song. So I know that these parts of the vocal performance have been copied and pasted. The reason why you want to know that is if you're editing some vocals, you don't want to edit the same vocal 4 times. You only need to edit it once because it's been copied and pasted in other places. We also have a couple of other colors that we use to inform each other, me and my engineers, of various things that could have happened during the production. So if the vocalist was unable to hit a note or something sounds unfixable, we will typically color it orange like that. So if you are looking through a song and you see a tiny little note and it has a little orange guy in there, that tells me that this is not going to be usable. We need to figure out some way to replace it or re-record it later or something like that. Another thing that we'll do is if something is really unique and stands out from the rest of the song or from the rest of the other parts in the same track, we'll kind of give it a special little blue color. And you can see when you look at the overall track, I notice immediately my eye is drawn to the fact that this is blue while the other ones are purple, and that kind of tells me that something about this stands out. The next part of organization is the placement and the grouping, and you can notice that my chorus is all nice and tidy and grouped together, and I am doing my main first, then my 2 doubles, then my 3 harmonies. Is that right? Oh, okay. So I'm doing my main first, my 2 doubles, and my harmonies. And then there's an overlapping line that happens right here. And so we copied the same tracks and pasted them again so we could have an overlap. And then those are in the same order as well. So the mains, the doubles, and the harmony. And you'll notice there's various other groups throughout the song. And all the little verse sections are grouped together. And the gang vocals are grouped together. So it's just a nice habit to get into, having all of your stuff placed together. Let's talk about the structure of a vocal production. What I mean by this is, do you know how many layers you're going to record? If you don't have any limits or any guidelines or boundaries kind of set beforehand, it's easy to get out of control, and it's also easy to kind of skip over what I would call the quality control of the production process. So if you determined at the beginning of the album, hey, we want this album to have, really epic vocal layering, so every song we're going to do 2 doubles, and then a couple songs you actually just forgot about that and you just did 1 double, you're going to be in trouble because now those songs are going to sound weaker than the other ones. So know what kind of structure you're actually going to do before you attempt to do it, and also prepare yourself for that structure and know how many tracks you're going to be working with and where those tracks are going to appear in your session. So how many layers are you doing? In this song, we decided to do 2 doubles for the chorus and only 1 double for the verse, and as many harmonies as it took to make it sound epic. Also, it's important to understand that consistency is good, but you do not want it to allow you, or it's also important to understand that consistency is great, but without limitation. What I mean by that is, don't tell yourself we're going to double every single chorus no matter what, and then you get to a point where you double a chorus and it sounds weird. Just because you said you were going to do the double doesn't mean you should do it if it's going to hurt the song. And also, on the flip side, if you said we're only going to do 1 harmony, but you get to a certain part in a certain song where it sounds really great to do 2 harmonies, then do 2 harmonies. Whatever it takes to make the song great, but still try to be consistent with your structure. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about editing. Now, with vocal editing, it kind of starts with good preparation. Now, if we look at this song, it actually is pretty well done in terms of preparation. We have our coloring, our naming, our grouping, our placement, everything looks nice. But if you go to this section here, you'll notice that all of these takes right here kind of have different endings. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but when you start to do pitch correction, the pitch corrector will loop the take, and it will be based on the length of the audio. And so if you have a lot of dead space at the end here, you're going to be wasting a ton of time listening to dead space while you're trying to do the pitch correction. So part of your editing prep is going to be going through and getting rid of dead space and tightening up any punch-ins. So for example, this line here, which was punched in over a period of several different takes, we should go through and make our crossfades, make our band-aids, and cut our dead space before we attempt to actually start the editing process. So this is the pre-edit where we're taking all of our punch-ins and we are cleaning them up, making our crossfades, and bouncing out the results. So good edits start with good prep. Then you're going to get into the next step, which would be pitch correction. I like to use Auto-Tune. There's other pitch correctors out there, such as Melodyne, and also the built-in one with Cubase. I don't really like those. I don't think they sound that good. Auto-Tune, to me, sounds the best. It also is the only pitch editing tool that gives you the most freedom of correction tools. Melodyne has some correction tools, but they're kind of limited, and same thing with the Cubase. And then you get into the timing and quantization changes, and that's moving the various vocal parts around on the grid and making them closer to the timing of the other instruments or closer to timing with each other. You could be correcting where certain words start. You could also be correcting how long certain words are so that they match up to where you want them. Now you might be wondering, should I do time correction first or should I do pitch correction first? And it's always going to be pitch before timing because pitch correctors are designed to look at the audio from an unmodified point of view, just putting a microphone in front of a voice. They're not designed to do pitch correction for vocals that have been time stretched or otherwise modified. Sometime you should try putting a distortion plugin on a vocal and then trying to pitch correct it afterwards, and you'll notice that it's pretty much impossible.